Hi there, here's a brief history on firearms. So sometime around 1200 years ago, gunpowder itself was invented by some Chinese alchemists using sulfur, charcoal, and some saltpeter. Primarily, at first, this was used to make fireworks because it was much more useful to have pretty lights in the sky than to have something to point at other people and make them go away. Eventually, though, this was invented and people made the most basic version of a firearm known as a hand cannon in and around the year 1230. It was incredibly inaccurate and essentially was just a metal tube with gunpowder and a projectile in the other end, and actually was more used in hand-to-hand combat due to the absolute lack of range or accuracy. Eventually, this became more traditional style firearms when the Europeans got their hands on gunpowder. The matchlock was one of the very first rifles that was developed in the year 1411. It had so many issues though, such as the fact that the lit flame was required in order to fire it at all, and you couldn't use it in the rain due to this fact. This inspired what is known as the wheel-lock pistol in 1515. The more and more that I researched this, the more and more I realized how long it's taken for firearms to advance. Anyway, the wheel-lock pistol fired much faster, but was incredibly fragile and much more expensive to produce. The wheel-lock pistol inspired the flintlock pistol in and around 1630, which is the one that we all know and love from our Pirates of the Caribbean movies. It was a commonly used pistol that was much cheaper and more durable to produce, firing a whole 4 shots per minute. Yeah, guns were not very good for a very long period of time. People then took this idea with the flintlock and attempted to attach multiple barrels to their firearms to increase their rate of fire, such as with the pepper box in 1830. See what I mean? It took 200 years. Are you kidding? Unfortunately for them, adding multiple barrels onto the front of your firearm led to frequent chain firing, in which every barrel on the firearm would fire simultaneously. This often would damage the firearm or occasionally the user itself, which I don't think you want with any self-defense tool. The pepper box was a bit of a flop of a gun, but it was the stepping stone to the Colt revolver, one of the most influential pistols in history, developed in 1831 by Samuel Colt. The United States Army needed a firearm to help fighting Native Americans, whose fire rate with their bows and arrows was just incredibly hard to match with the single-shot rifles that they had been issued. Samuel Colt finally managed to sell a shipment of his new revolvers to the Army, and they were an instant sensation. This led to the traditional Wild West style 6-shooters, repeaters, shotguns, and all other kinds of weapons that prioritized fire rate and damage over, well, pretty much everything else. With modern technology, we've used these sciences to make the most effective killing machines on planet Earth, from things that can fire thousands of rounds per minute to things that can put holes in steel plates. From then on, it was just a race to see who could make the best, most accurate, fastest firing gun in the world. I'm sure that won't have any lasting consequences.